Well, good morning, everyone. I would like to welcome you all to the 2021 Partners for Clean Air virtual awards ceremony. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Charles Breitenfeld, and I am the coordinator of the Partners for Clean Air program here in Northwest Indiana. I'm glad that you could all attend this morning, as we are very excited to present our annual awards. This is very unfortunate that once again this year that we're unable to have this great event in person due to the COVID-19 global pandemic. But we are optimistic that next year we will be back in person. As a reminder, all attendees are in listen-only mode, and today's awards ceremony will be recorded and shared on the Partners for Clean Air webpage, along with the South Shore Clean Cities resources page. Also, there's a chat box feature located in the panel to your right. If you have any questions or comments throughout the presentations, please type them in the chat box and we will address them towards the end of our program. I know that many of you on this webinar today know what the Partners for Clean Air program is all about, but for our newcomers, let me take a brief moment to go over it with you. The Partners for Clean Air program is a coalition of businesses, industries, local governments, and community groups that are committed to improving air quality through public health and voluntary actions. The program was started in 1998, 1999, when NWI was selected as one of 14 demonstration communities to receive funds to conduct air quality public outreach and education as part of the It All Adds Up to Clean Air campaign, and was funded through the US EPA, the US Federal Highway Administration, and the US Federal Transit Administration. This is also the same programs that the DieselWise program came out of in 2002. Our main focus is on air quality action days and what you can do on those days to reduce ground level ozone and fine particle buildup. There it is. Here's some data from the IDAM, Office of Air Quality website that relates to our main focus. As you can see, in the late 90s into the early 2000s, we averaged 10.7 air quality action days per year in Northwest Indiana. And the most recent data we have shows that the average is down to 5.7 air quality action days per year. Now, I know that the Partners for Clean Air isn't the only reason for this decline, but I would like to think that we did play a role in this reduction. You can also see on this slide that we have been able to reduce the 8-hour ozone average in all 3 of our focus counties over the last 15 years. As our mission statement said before, we're helping clean the air using voluntary actions. And right here are our top 10 tips that you can do at home to help reduce your air pollution contributions. These are things that we can do every day during the Ozone Action Day, but are especially important on the Ozone Action Days. Now, the Partners for Clean Air members hold or participate in a number of events annually to increase awareness regarding the program and to talk about the importance of clean air and voluntary actions that can be taken to improve air quality. Some of our highlights over the last couple of years include our annual luncheon and awards ceremony. This slide right here is from our 2019 luncheon so that we can all remember what it's like to have one of these in person. We've had booths at the 2019 Michigan City Conference on the Environment and the 2019 LaPorte County Fair. We hosted the Partners for Clean Air Day at the Gary South Shore Railcats, where we gave away 9 bicycles to some very happy winners. We sponsored the coolest hole at the South Shore Clean Cities annual golf outing in 2019, where this picture was taken. We were also a hole sponsor at the 2020 event. In January of 2020, we sponsored a Valparaiso University men's basketball game where we gave away another 4 bicycles. In February of 2020, we attended and had a booth at the South Shore Clean Cities annual conference. And then we had a long break because of the COVID-19. But then in August, we attended 4 games at the Northwest Indiana Oilmen. And of course, now we've had this event, the 2021 Partners for Clean Air Virtual Awards Ceremony. Our program has had strong representation from a number of local entities. The membership commitment is for 1 calendar year and varies depending upon the membership level. We have 4 levels of membership that include green, bronze, silver, and gold, with gold representing the highest level of commitment. While all members are valued, gold and silver level members deserve special recognition as they provide the support and resources necessary to sustain the program. This is in addition to undertaking the voluntary actions to improve air quality, particularly on Air Quality Action Day. Now, none of this would be possible without our members. Therefore, I would like to take a few moments here to give them the proper recognition they deserve. We'll be starting out with our bronze level members, as we have no green level members this year. Bronze level members have no financial commitment, but they do commit to implementing at least 3 voluntary actions to help reduce air pollution annually. This year, our bronze level members are air dynamics testing, Miss Delaney Bontrager, the City of Gary, Mr. David Kay, the LaPorte County Health Department, the Porter County Health Department, and South Shore Clean Cities. Next up are our silver level members. Silver level members commit a minimum of $1,000 annually in financial support to the Partners for Clean Air program, and they pledge to implement at least 4 voluntary actions at their membership organization. For this, they receive a seat on the Partners for Clean Air Steering Committee, among other benefits. This year, our silver level members include the Hammond Port Authority, who are represented on the steering committee by Ms. Susan Tabers. Care Media Incorporated, represented by Ms. Kathy Moore. Prax Air Incorporated, represented by Mr. Bikram Shrestha. And Wilcox Environmental Engineering, who are represented by Mr. Scott Nelson. Last up are our gold level members. Gold level members commit a minimum of $2,000 annually in financial support to the Partners for Clean Air program, and they pledge to implement at least 6 voluntary actions at their membership organization. For this, they also receive a seat on the Partners for Clean Air Steering Committee, as well as many other benefits. This year's gold level members include Cleveland Cliffs Incorporated, represented by Mr. Tom Macher, GAF Material Corporation, represented by Mr. Phil Welsh, the Gary South Shore Railcats, represented by Ms. Ashley Nyland, Metro Recycling, represented by Ms. Jesslyn Dykstra, the Michigan City Sanitary District, who are represented by Mr. Michael Kuss, NIPSCO, who are represented by Mr. Stephen Holcomb, NERPC, who are represented by Ms. Lori Cagle, and the Northwest Indiana Oilmen, who are represented by Mr. Don Popperbeck. I would like to thank all our members for being a part of the program this year. We truly couldn't do what we do without you. And now, it gives me great pleasure to turn it over to one of our scholarship selection committee members, Ms. Lori Cagle from South Shore Clean Cities, to introduce the winner of this year's Partners for Clean Air Scholarship winners.
Good morning. Thank you, Chuck, and good morning, everyone. I'm Lori Cagle, Communications Director for South Shore Clean Cities. I also serve on the Partners for Clean Air Steering Committee and the Scholarship Committee with Scott Nelson of Wilcox Environmental Engineering and Michael Kuss of the Michigan City Sanitary District. Unfortunately, Scott Nelson, who serves as our Scholarship Committee Chairman, could not be with us today, but he recorded a video announcing the 3 winners of this year's scholarships, which we will be playing for you shortly. But before we air the video, I would encourage you, if you've yet to do so, to please become a member of Partners for Clean Air and to pledge to do your part to improve air quality on Air Quality Action Days. You will soon hear from the Scholarship Award winners themselves of their inspiring plans for improving air quality through their college studies and future career plans. You can help ensure that their burden and that of future generations isn't quite as heavy by becoming a member of Partners for Clean Air today. And now, it is my pleasure to introduce my friend and fellow Scholarship Committee member, Scott Nelson, and the winners of the 2021 Northwest Indiana Partners for Clean Air Scholarships.
Hello, my name is Scott Nelson, and I am the Director of Business Development for Wilcox Environmental Engineering. I am also the Scholarship Committee Chairman for the Partners for Clean Air. Partners for Clean Air is a coalition of Northwest Indiana businesses, industries, local governments, and community groups committed to improving overall air quality and public health. Last year, we created a unique scholarship program to help area high school students who showed an interest in pursuing a career that supports our mission. We were able to award 2 scholarships to deserving students from the region. This year, the Partners for Clean Air Steering Committee is excited to announce the award of 3 scholarships through our scholarship program. Scholarships are awarded to qualified high school seniors in Lake, Porter, or LaPorte counties to assist in their post-secondary education expenses. Qualified students will have demonstrated academic excellence and have plans to attend an accredited college, university, or trade school in the fall of 2021. This year, we received many applications from qualified students, and after extensive evaluation, have determined that we will award scholarships to 3 exceptional candidates. Today, I wish to announce and congratulate Lucia Otten of Valparaiso, Indiana, Quinton Vanderburgh of Chesterton, Indiana, and Adelaide Youngbrust of Union Mills, Indiana, on their awards of a Partners for Clean Air Scholarship for 2021. Lucia, Quinton, and Adelaide's academic achievements and their exceptional essays placed them ahead of their competition in our evaluation. To that end, the steering committee has decided to award Lucia, Quinton, and Adelaide each with scholarships of $2,500. The scholarships will be paid directly to Valparaiso University, where Lucia will begin working towards a Bachelor of Arts in Environmental Studies in Spanish, to Williams College, where Quinton will be studying chemistry and environmental science, and to Indiana University, where Adelaide will be working towards a degree in environmental and sustainability studies. We at the Partners of Clean Air could not be more excited for Lucia, Quinton, and Adelaide, and trust that our investment in their futures will give them a great start towards their career, where they can make a tangible difference in impacting our air quality and the environment overall. Again, congratulations to Lucia, Quinton, and Adelaide on their well-deserved awards. We are excited for you, and we can't wait to see how you will make a difference.
Hello everybody, my name is Quinton Vanderburgh. I'm from Chesterton, Indiana, but I currently go to Lalomere School in LaPorte, Indiana. I will be going to Williams College, which is a small liberal arts school in northwestern Massachusetts, this coming fall, and I'll hopefully be studying something in STEM, that being either chemistry or environmental science. And the scholarship means a lot to me just because it's something that I really care about. I really care about the environment, and I think seeing that I want to study environmental science really shows that. I think it's really important. It's probably our #1 priority that we need to clean our air and help solve this climate crisis that we have. So it's actually something I'll most likely be doing once I graduate, is that I'll hopefully be able to do some research and try and help the problem that we have. So thank you so much for awarding me the Partners for Clean Air Scholarship this year. Thank you. I'll see you guys.
My name is Lucia Otten, and I live in Valparaiso, Indiana, and I go to Valparaiso High School. This fall, I'll be attending Valparaiso University, where I'll be studying environmental studies and Spanish. I am so thankful for this incredibly generous scholarship, as it has helped alleviate a lot of the financial stress of college for my family, and it's helped me focus more of my energies on my studies and helping the environment and other people instead of on personal loans. Going forward, I hope to work for an environmental organization combating climate change and air pollution. And I hope to either do this in the United States or do activism abroad, where I can use Spanish to help the environment all over the globe. Thank you so much.
My name is Adelaide Youngbrust. I am a senior at South Central High School, and I'm from Union Mills, Indiana. Next fall, I will be attending Indiana University Bloomington to study law and public policy and environmental and sustainability studies. This scholarship enables me to do that, and I am so honored to be able to further the values and goals of Partners for Clean Air while I'm there. After college, I plan to have a career as an environmental lawyer where I will be defending vulnerable communities who have been exposed to pollutants and whose air quality and therefore quality of life has been compromised. Thank you.
All right, well, thank you so much, Lori and Scott, and congratulations once again to all of our scholarship winners. You guys truly deserve this. It's really great. All right, next up, we'll have our guest speaker, Ms. Shannon Zarrett. Shannon Zarrett is from the Energy Technology Program Specialist at the Department of Energy, the U.S. Department of Energy. She's in the Weatherization and Intergovernmental Program Office. At the DOE, Shannon manages the Sustainable Wastewater Infrastructure of the Future, or SWIFT initiative, which works with water and wastewater utilities to optimize energy efficiency and implement advanced technologies. So I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Shannon Zarrett.
All right, how's everybody doing? I'm very excited to be here today, and you know, one of the things, and I'll talk a little bit about our partnerships in a few minutes, but we wouldn't be able to do what we do in the Better Buildings program without the innovation and the passion that comes from our public and private sector partners. And I also, you know, love that we had that, I saw that video beforehand, because we do have a really nice student volunteer internship program. So if any of you guys know any college students who would like to work for the DOE and get some experience, you know, feel free to let me know. I'd be happy to connect them with those resources so they can get in and get some experience. But let me talk to you about one of our initiatives at the DOE. We certainly are quite broad. Let me just see. There we go. So I work in for an initiative called Better Buildings. It's one of many at the DOE. The hallmark is that we work with the public and private sector to achieve across the board 20% energy savings. We do this because we saw a significant opportunity. So on average, the US spends about $600 billion each year to power homes, plants, and buildings. And so we saw a significant opportunity. We saw that on average, like I said, most of the time you can achieve about a 20% reduction by implementing energy efficient technologies. And so what we wanted to do was partner in the space and share lessons learned so that we could accelerate the adoption of different efficient technologies. A lot of times efficiency is not integrated into strategic planning for various reasons. Technology could be perceived as risky. Sometimes there's just a lack of information. It may be perceived as being biased if it's coming from one type of organization versus the other. There may just be an overload of information, and it's hard to distinguish what is the right path for a particular agency or utility or plant or home. And a lot of times there are cost factors, significant cost factors to consider. And so what we like to do is essentially our purpose at DOE is R&D, research and development. And so our goal is to essentially help the public and private sector in one of 4 different ways. And so we work with folks who have successfully piloted technology or have successfully implemented different programs, so they can kind of showcase and talk lessons learned and share with the greater sector. We also are on the implementing end of our research and development. So we do a lot of work. Our national labs do a lot of incredible work at the bench scale, bring it up to scale, and then we help push out that information so folks can try to pilot it and bring it to a higher level. We also like to share the information, any kind of reports or studies that we've conducted. We like to make sure that that information is easily accessible and comprehensive. And so people feel like they have a sense of, okay, these are my particulars, what is going to work best for me? How can I find the right solution for my particular circumstances? And so we like to create comprehensive databases that can help them sort through that information. And then, of course, focusing on workforce development and getting folks trained in these different technologies so they can be successful. And so within our Better Buildings program, we've had quite a bit of results to date. So we've got 11 billion saved, 1.8 quadrillion BTUs, 23 billion financing, 8.5 billion gallons of water saved. We have 950 partners so far, and we've published 2,800 different solutions. And I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. But just to give you an idea of how vast our partners are, this is just a sampling. To get 280 on all one slide, but this gives you an idea of how diverse and expansive our efforts have been in this space so far. And in terms of breakdown, our partners tend to be 32. We've got 32 of the 100 Fortune companies, 8 different national labs, 12 of the top 25 U.S. employers, 13% of the commercial space, 12% of the manufacturing space, 24 state governments, and 88 local governments. And so we've been able to partner with quite a bit of folks, and so we have a lot of great information, great partner showcases available. So one of the great things that I've been able to be part in is post-project evaluation, which is very useful because I get to determine and see trends and patterns and what are the habits of a successful organization? How can we get to reducing our energy intensity by 20%? And how do we keep that a sustainable goal and keep moving forward? And generally what I see is, of course, setting a goal is key, but data is important. Tracking your data is key. There are a lot of organizations that there's a lot of data coming in, but they're not necessarily using it to make any kind of strategic decisions. They're not making predictive models. And so it's not being utilized to set the standard day-to-day or even a long-term strategy. So tracking that data, understanding that data, it can take a little bit of extra work, but it's very important to driving your goals forward. Even on top of that, it really goes hand in hand in terms of looking beyond the technology. I've had partners that installed technology that was highly energy efficient and then they just called it a day. They weren't tracking its performance. They weren't looking comprehensively at the full picture. They weren't looking at, operational efficiencies. They weren't looking at behavioral modifications. And so where they may have been seeing, some savings, maybe they got, 10%, 20%. If they really looked comprehensively at the full picture, not just focused on the tech upgrades, they would achieve more, significant savings even beyond that 20%. And this is when I hear time and time again, it takes a champion. You really want to have a champion and a key team that can drive these policies and these initiatives forward. And so having someone at the head of the helm that's passionate and has that senior level buy-in is so key to the project success, and having that core team that can operationalize or implement some of those new techniques and new strategies is key as well. And then, of course, the power of lessons learned, learning from your peers, learning what worked and what didn't work is just equally as important here. Okay, so one of the key spaces that we utilize is the Better Building Solution Center. And I talked about, we publish a lot of different solutions. And so this is where we house basically all of the final products that we produce. And I'll talk a little bit about what do I mean by final products. But if you're interested in figuring out, what is this, what do we do, this is the key center to go to first. And so within the Solution Center, let's see if I move a little bit of a go back a little delay. So within the Solution Center, what you have is thousands upon thousands of different playbooks. Essentially, it's the entire project from cradle to grave. No matter what the subject is, it's organized by subject. So if you're looking at diverting waste from a landfill, if you're looking about saving water, if you're looking at upgrading efficiency at a manufacturing plant or a wastewater facility, we have dozens of case studies. And embedded within those case studies are a number of different key resources, ones that can help you find financing, ones that can help you select the best data analysis tool, ones that can help you draft strategic energy plans. So there's just a glut of resources available on the Solution Center. And it's really nice to, as we talk about the different partners we highlight their case study, you hear that story. And like I say, time and time again, I just said it, sometimes it's important to hear what didn't work just as equally as it is important to hear what did. Okay, so I'm just going to go through a few of our initiatives just to give you an idea. It is not exhaustive. These are just a few sample initiatives that we have within Better Buildings. So we have our Water Savings Institute, 45 different partners across different sectors, and total we've saved 8.5 billion in water savings. And so with all of those, you've got Staples, Anthem, all of those different agencies. They've shared their solutions on that Better Building Solution Center. So they've charted the pathway for how they achieve that water savings. We also had our waste reduction pilot. This is a very interesting area because there's a lot of key components that require community engagement and behavioral change. And so it's not just the technology, it's not just optimizing technology, it's not just monitoring data. There is an element that's very community driven. And so it's nice to hear from other partners who have done it. They can talk about what worked and what absolutely did not, but the potential is huge in waste. So we generate about 2.7 billion tons of industrial solid waste, 260 million tons of municipal solid waste. Overall, we have over 30 different partners in this pilot, and they diverted 1.9 million tons from the landfill. So pretty significant progress. And what we typically do, our methodologies for working with our partners, is to provide key technical assistance that they need and connect them with their peers so that they can figure out what the best strategy is for them. And I'll highlight that in a case study because I work specifically in the wastewater sector and I can get into a little bit more meat there. We also have our 50,001 Ready program. And so if your facility, plant, or utility doesn't have a strategic energy plan, you're aware of it, you're monitoring it, but you don't have any strategies for how to reduce energy or how to monitor it and how to continue progress, this is a great tool. And so it's a framework that allows you to think about your organization comprehensively. And you go through a series of 25 steps that allows you to prioritize different energy savings options and determine how you can turn this into a sustainable practice where you're continually evolving and continually looking back and evaluating your progress. And in the end, what we can do, we can't certify you, so we're not an external auditor. But if you go through our 50001 Ready program, we can officially recognize you as ISO 50001 compliant. And so essentially all it's doing is really helping you create a strategy for managing your energy. We also have a financing navigator. Again, key element, key barrier is not having the financing to take your goals to the next level. And a lot of times it is a factor of just not being aware what's available to you. There are a lot of times I hear, well, I didn't know that kind of a mechanism was even available to me. And so what's nice is the navigator allows you to sort of sift through that information and determine both at a national, federal level, as well as the state level, local level, what types of financing mechanisms are available to you, whether that's a federal grant, a state grant, or even some private mechanisms, either some energy savings performance contracting, for example. So a lot of different options and a great tool to help you figure out what are your options. If I want to make an upgrade and I don't have the capital expense, how can I do that? Our next big initiative is Better Plants. So Better Plants works with all major energy consuming sectors, primarily focused on manufacturing, although they do work pretty heavily in wastewater. And they are a partner to my program, which I'll get into after this. But to date, they've saved about 8.2 billion and 1.7 quadrillion BTUs. They've got over 230 partners representing 3,200 facilities, and that represents 12% of the manufacturing energy footprint in the US. And so their style is very comprehensive. They tend to prioritize some of the heavier process heating, electric motors, pumping systems, but it is very comprehensive throughout the whole plant. And we found that even some of the most advanced facilities, the most advanced plants, still there's always room for continual improvement. And so within Better Plants, you're assigned a technical account manager, and they help guide you through and basically look at your entire plant comprehensively and make key recommendations for where you can improve your different technology or operating procedures. So it's a great program to be a part of. And so, like I said, their technical account managers are very key. They have a ton of diagnostic tools. And so if you've got pumps, you've got heaters, you've got fans, you want to determine if they are actually efficient or if there is room for improvement, you can run them through their diagnostic suite and they can tell you how you can specifically improve upon your processes. Maybe it's a timing issue, maybe it's time for an upgrade, but they can help you determine what the right steps, the next steps are in your process. And so in total, they've been able to identify over $40 million in energy savings since 2011. So great program, very significant accomplishments there. And so then I'll move into my baby over here. So I work in wastewater. We have an accelerator program tied to Better Plants. So all kind of a very similar, in the same vein as Better Plants, but it's very specifically focused on wastewater treatment systems. And so what we're doing is partnering with utilities to accelerate a pathway towards sustainable infrastructure. And so if you look at the business case for this, we've got 30 billion kilowatts per year in terms of energy consumed by municipal wastewater facilities. That equates to 2 billion in annual electric costs, or 25 to 40% of a treatment plant's operating budget. And since 5 times more energy is consumed than they actually need to treat, there's significant opportunity for savings. And it's projected that this energy requirement is going to go up as we start to see more stringent regulatory requirements. We want our water to be cleaner, and as population continues to rise. And so we are currently in our second phase. Phase 1 ran from 2016 to 2019, and we worked with 70 different wastewater treatment facilities. And the primary goal was to get them to achieve at least 5% short-term energy intensity reduction and help them plan to achieve 30% long-term energy reduction. And so essentially the way that we structured the program was that we focused first on helping them with data management. If they hadn't tracked their data before, getting them into a process where they were tracking it, turning that into something sustainable. If they had a system in place, then we would help them get a little bit more insight on their data, working with them with one of our more advanced regression tools so they could get a little bit more information out of the data they had. Each facility then got an energy assessment from one of our industrial assessment centers. They were able to identify key recommendations. That's what got all of our facilities to achieve that 5% energy reduction. And then we helped them plan for capital expenditures, so more significant upgrades. So how do they prioritize those really high-end upgrades going forward in the next 10 years? We connected them with financial resources so that they could finance those upgrades. And then in the end, we helped them develop their long-term energy management plan. So they got a strategic plan out of it. And so on average, like I said, the program was successful. Our facilities saw an average of 6.9% reduction over their baseline. And so this is an example from one of our final reports. So this is Miami-Dade. And so on the left, they're walking through the energy and cost saved through some of the recommendations that we provided. And then on the right, they're walking through the 3 years, the energy they saved over the 3-year training period. And so we're moving into phase 2. What we're doing right now, we're doing a toolkit training and actually working state by state. And so for facilities that are just getting started on prioritizing energy savings, we're going to run the SWIFT program again. It'll be going over that toolkit, going over that same formation. We're actually working with Indiana University's Energy Resiliency Institute to implement this broadly in Indiana. And then we also have our Energy Recovery Accelerator. This is for facilities that want to adopt more advanced technologies. And actually Michigan City is one of our partners here, and Fort Wayne is one of our partners in Better Plants. So we're in good company here. And so that covers everything. So we've got quite a bit of different initiatives at the DOE. If you're interested in learning any more, feel free to contact me. We do have a big summit coming up, the Better Building Summit, at the end of May. So, keep an eye out for that. But if you have any questions and you want to connect with me, feel free to. I love connecting with different partners, and I really appreciate having the time to talk to you guys today. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Shannon. That was really great. You guys are doing some really excellent work over there. We appreciate you coming on and taking some time to be with us today. Now, it is my pleasure to introduce the IDEM Commissioner, Mr. Bruno Piggott, for our keynote address. A few words about Bruno here. He has worked at the Indiana Department of Environmental Management since 2000. In 2017, he was appointed as Commissioner by Governor Holcomb. And prior to that, Mr. Piggott served as Chief of Staff from August of 2015 through December of 2016. From April 2005 through August of 2015, he worked as the Assistant Commissioner in the Office of Water Quality. Prior to 2005, Mr. Piggott served in a number of different positions in the Office of Water Quality. Those included Chief of the Permits Branch, the Compliance Branch, and the State Revolving Fund Section. He received his master's degree from Indiana University's School of Public and Environmental Affairs and his bachelor's degree from Michigan State University. So take it away, Bruno, and don't forget to unmute your mic.
Can you hear me, Charles?
You're good.
All right, good. Well, first of all, I want to say thanks for inviting me to come and speak today. I want to also say thanks very much to Lori and to all the folks who set up this program. It's a really great program, and I really appreciate the scholarships that were awarded to Lucia and Quinton and Adelaide. I myself have an 18-year-old who is graduating from high school this year, and I know what a difference it makes in their lives to receive the support in the form of these scholarships. And I'm so excited about their efforts. Also appreciate Shannon's presentation today. She mentioned an internship that's available through their organization. And I just want to say also, if our award winners are listening this morning, that we at IDEM have an internship program as well, and it's really good. It involves getting our young college-age scientists out in the field with our staff to sample our water quality, and it's not just a superficial internship program, it's real substance. We sample rivers, creeks, and streams around the state to determine which waters are impaired and what needs to be fixed. And the interns that participate in this program are paid, and they make a difference. They make a difference because they're intimately involved in the process of identifying which streams are working well and which are not. So just a shout out to our own internship program to let you know about that. I want to say today I'm here to talk about our state level priorities and legislation. And oftentimes I'm asked to come and talk to groups about what are the priorities IDEM has. And as I was thinking about that lately, I was thinking, many people ask about what the priorities are, but it's important for me to talk not only about what our priorities are, but also how do we arrive at those priorities? Why these specific things? And I think that our changing environmental and social landscape has a great deal to do with how we pick the priorities we pick to work on at our agency. We don't operate in a vacuum. And I was thinking, well, what's a good example of showing that? And I think it really is in the art world. I wonder how many of you have been to an art museum in the past. And I can imagine a good number of you have. I myself have gone to a number of art museums, and there's so many different ways to look at and understand the artwork that's on the walls. And I know this, when I go in an art museum, I go walking around, and maybe by the 10th or 15th painting I go up to, my stomach starts to rumble, and I start to wonder about where the cafeteria is located. And I start to go past paintings faster and faster, thinking I could use a cup of coffee, my feet hurting, maybe I'm hungry. And then I look at the paintings and I really don't understand why these paintings are on the wall, what is the importance of them, and how do we understand them? I think there was this industrialist, his name was Peter Brandt, and he said, if you're going to understand art, it needs to be socialized. You need a lot of context to understand art, and that doesn't mean just reading a few art history books. And it means something more. And so what does it mean, and how do we understand it? Well, let me start with an example. Here's an example of a painting. And if I were in an art museum and if my stomach was starting to rumble, I might notice this painting in terms of its color, in terms of its realistic proportions, and in terms of the what I see. And what I see here, it looks like a guy in a red, jacket, and a bunch of people, and they look like they're sitting around a campfire, looking maybe in the campfire, and maybe the guy in the red jacket is telling a story. And if I'm in a rush to get to the cafeteria, that may be all I notice. And I might not understand the painting and why the art museum chose to put it on the wall, or its importance in terms of art history, or at all. There's another way to look at it. There's a way to look at it by walking up to the painting and saying, okay, what's the title of this painting? The title of this painting is, it's a philosopher giving a lecture at the orrery in 1765. Okay, so I know that's the title. I know it was in 1765. I know it was done by someone named Joseph Wright, who lived in Derby, England. And that's one way to look at it. And if I'm really hungry, I might look at the caption and then move on. But I might not know anything else about it. Or I might take a minute and notice the color. I might notice the lighting, the clarity, the form, the realism, the strength of the drawing as really rational, as austere and sober. And those are good ways to look at that painting of the guy standing around the campfire. It might give us some greater appreciation of this guy sitting around the campfire. But what I don't understand is how anyone can really understand this painting without understanding the times in which it was created. And we got a hint of it. We understand that it was done in 1765. We got a hint of the color and stuff. But what we need to do is understand more deeply, why is it that this scene was painted? Well, one thing to ask yourself is, well, what is this thing called an orrery? Is it another word for a campfire? It turns out that an orrery is a mechanical model of the solar system, and that the light that's given off in this painting is from a lamp placed in the middle of this orrery that represents the sun. And this painting was painted in 1765, which was during the age of the Enlightenment. And well, what does the Enlightenment mean? Well, in the Enlightenment, there were themes of rationality, of reason, and science started to play a really important role in the way we started to understand the world. This painting was preceded by 3 books of Newton's Principia, which dealt with gravity, and the masses of planets and the movements of planets. And the orrery, this mechanical model of the solar system, was meant to represent that. So we're starting to get a better idea of the importance of this painting. It represented the times. It represented scientific study. It was painted during the time of the philosophers Voltaire and Rousseau, who held that everything could be rationally demystified. It was during Locke's time when he wrote the essay concerning human understanding, and Christians sought to reposition their faith along rational lines. So is it any surprise, once you understand these things, that the painter painted this kind of scene? It fit the times. And don't we get a better understanding of why the painter chose to paint this artwork and the subject of the artwork when we know something about the time period in which it was painted? I think we understand a much richer understanding of this. And instead of just whipping right by it, we can appreciate it not only for its color, not only for its realistic proportions, but what it represented in history. So those are a couple things I wanted to say that help us understand artwork. And like artwork, our environmental issues today are shaped by the times in which we live. So just like Joseph Darby, of Darby, who did this painting, the work we do, the issues we face are shaped by the times we live in. So let's take a look at the times we live in and then talk about how the priorities at IDEM reflect those times. First of all, as you know, we live in a time of masking up, of wearing our mask because of the pandemic. And other signs of the pandemic are not just the masks we wear, but the signs literally that we see all over about social distancing. In our offices here at the agency, you see a lot of empty chairs these days because people are working remotely from home. And there was a time period when just about everybody in the country was working from their homes. We're still working remotely largely, and our offices are pretty quiet. I come to the office every day, but it's not surprising for me to walk through and see most of the lights off and not many people in the office. And most of the time, to catch people, we see them in this form on our Teams application and in social media communication devices like what we're on right now. And we do communicate, and we're in touch with one another, and we do it remotely. And so we still see each other. And these days, we often not only see each other, but we might see our family dog in the picture. In some ways, it gives us a really more intimate understanding of the folks we work with. There's been another thing that is a sign of our times, and it was the murder of George Floyd, which over the past year has sparked, and past summer, sparked protests throughout the country, including here in Indianapolis. And it was a sign of the time to see the sign Black Lives Matter, which was and still is up in front of people's homes, in protests and throughout. And as you know, during these protests, some of those protests resulted in some businesses being damaged. And here in Indianapolis, we could see signs of the time, and here was one that was painted on a building where the glass front was smashed, and it says, "We have to be heard." And we can't breathe. These were signs of the time. And a third sign of the times was the election in 2020. As you know, President Trump was running for re-election, and it was an election that brought a great deal of interest by folks throughout the country. Debates were had between President Trump and Vice President Biden at the time, and people went to the polls in record numbers. And the election was held, and at the end of the election, some people were very dissatisfied with the outcome and had questions about whether the election was legitimate. And of course, during just before President Biden was inaugurated, there were what amounted to an insurrection at the Capitol building where property was destroyed. In the end, we came together and have a new president, President Biden. Here in Indiana, elections were held as well. And I'm pleased to say that Governor Holcomb was reelected. And in addition to that, Republicans hold today a supermajority in both the House and the Senate. In the Indiana House, there are 40 Republicans and 10 Democrats in the Senate. And in the House, there are 67 Republicans and 33 Democrats. So all of these are signs of the times, from the pandemic to the protests over the murder of George Floyd, to the election, and to the election results in the state of Indiana. So how does that, you might ask, how do these events affect the Department of Environmental Management? And let me talk about that now. First of all, as I've indicated, about 95% of our employees have been working from home. We've continued to do our work. We issue permits as we have over the past 10 years in a timely manner. We continue and continued during the lockdown period of the pandemic to inspect our drinking and wastewater facilities throughout the state. They were a priority for us. Wastewater and drinking water are at the top of my list for importance, primarily because they have a direct impact on public health on a daily basis. So we made sure our inspectors were out inspecting these facilities throughout the state. We did, and it did go out and conduct other sorts of inspections, but for some stack tests, for example, we did hold back where there were concerns about COVID and the work we did. We did not, one of the big concerns was whether or not we would, whether environmental oversight would cease during the pandemic because the agencies would not, the agencies including EPA and IDEM, would not be really overseeing the activities. And we at the agency did not issue any blanket waivers from environmental rules. Instead, where facilities had difficulty meeting specific requirements, IDEM would handle them on a case-by-case basis. And for the most part, there were no specific difficulties meeting permit terms or conditions, except for submitting some reports within the timeframes that were allocated in permits. And in those situations where facilities needed a little extra time to submit those reports because they had employees that were affected by COVID or other issues cropped up, we handled them on a case-by-case basis. So that's how we dealt with that. Well, what about the George Floyd protests? How does that at all, intersect with our environmental protection? Well, first we start at the governor's level. Governor Holcomb, in reaction to that, said, we now stand at an inflection point. We have an opportunity to acknowledge these past wrongs, learn from our history, and admit where we've come up short of our ideals. And then we must go about doing what we've done whenever we face a challenge, and that is make historic progress together. Well, what does that mean, and how does that impact IDEM? Well, first of all, what it meant on the state level was that the governor hired Indiana's first ever Chief Equity, Inclusion, and Opportunity Officer, who serves as a member of the governor's cabinet. And her name is Kara Herring. She focuses on improving equity, inclusion, and opportunity across all state government operations and is developing plans to tactically remove barriers to equity at the state level. What does this mean at IDEM? Well, first, it means we're going to be working with Kara Herring. I've met with her and talked with her about the composition and how to improve the composition of our agency, which admittedly has people of color mostly in administrative positions and not as many in our technical positions. We need to improve that. In addition to that, the agency has been working to update our environmental justice maps. We have had environmental justice maps in our agency for decades, but we hadn't updated them in quite some time. And we've partnered with Indiana University and Janet McCabe to take a look at our map and compare it to what other agencies are doing out there. And we're working with the governor's office to identify elements of environmental justice policy for our agency. Certainly, it means looking to ensure inclusion and opportunities, but in the parts of communities of color in our process of protecting our environment. So that's the impact that had. And it's made environmental justice and equity and inclusion efforts a top priority at our agency. Well, how did the elections affect state environmental issues? Well, I can think of them in a couple of different ways. In terms of the national elections, really, I think it will have an impact on air quality issues. And how will it have an impact? Well, first of all, if you look at the president's appointments, he's appointed John Kerry to be kind of the international intersection with global climate change issues. He's hired Gina McCarthy, the former head of US EPA, to lead domestic climate change efforts. And he's hired Janet McCabe, who is a Hoosier and a former IDEM employee, head of our Office of Air Quality, to lead the efforts as a deputy commissioner at the US EPA. And these three folks have extensive experience and understanding of global climate change issues and domestic climate change issues. So I expect that we'll see a great deal of action in air quality for state environmental issues. First of all, the Affordable Clean Energy rule that was put in place during the Trump administration will no longer be the effort that US EPA undertakes. They've already indicated that they would not proceed with the Keystone XL pipeline, and they've rejoined the Paris Climate Accord. IDEM will need to adjust to this. We're going to, I'm hoping, be a partner in seat at the table at discussing climate change issues with US EPA so that we can influence what is formed in the new national administration. And we're going to need, once they come up with policies or plans, we'll need to hire staff to help the state proceed with how to work on those very issues. So this is going to be a big focus, I believe, over the next 4 years for our Office of Air Quality. Resilience will be the key word we use, I think. How did recent elections on the state level affect, and the federal level affect, environmental issues? Well, water is the other area. And as you may know, the Trump administration recently revised the waters of the United States definition. It narrowed the definition. It's my understanding that the new administration, the Biden administration, will probably work to revise that definition of waters of the United States. And this has been going on for close to a decade now, where the definitions of waters undergo changes with new administrations. This has a direct implication for wetlands issues. The narrower definitions of waters of the United States the Trump administration proposed led to a reduction in federal oversight over wetland impacts in states around the country as a result of the change of the definition of what waters could be regulated. Because of the state elections, there's been an impact on state regulated wetlands as well as federal regulated wetlands. In terms of waters of the United States, we expect this debate to go on and new impact depending on what the new administration pursues. As I said, the more narrow definition, it seems to be on its way out. We expect that probably the Biden administration will attempt to broaden the definition of waters of the United States in the future. We work in conjunction with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers to issue 401 quality certifications for streams that are regulated under the federal definition. But for those waters that are not under the federal definition, we have a state wetland law. Impacts to state wetlands that are not federally protected are protected by our state law. Recently, during the legislative session here in Indiana, a bill was introduced, Senate Bill 389, that would propose to repeal Indiana state regulated wetland law in its entirety. The House of Representatives received that proposal and went through an iterative series of amendments to narrow the scope of that legislative proposal. As a result of discussions, the proposals would change the way we regulate state wetlands. Here's an example of what I'm talking about. The question, when you look at this picture, is this wetland federally or state protected? Well, under the current definition of waters of the United States, if it abuts a federally protected waters in the United States, then it is regulated under the federal law. If it does not, if it is not abutting, it's considered what we call isolated. There's really no difference in terms of whether those wetlands are important or not. The only difference is who regulates them. Both state and federal wetlands provide important functions for the environment and economic benefits. The economic benefits are that wetlands store water. They store water, which reduces the flow of water to our rivers, creeks, and streams, helps protect against flooding, which helps to protect our infrastructure. And in addition to that, it helps to recharge our drinking water. It also provides water, improved water quality in streams, and protects habitat for wildlife. So wetlands are important, and who and whether they're regulated is important too. And here are just some pictures of the impacts of increased flooding when you have impacts on and reductions in wetlands around the state. Wetlands that are protected by the state of Indiana are the vast majority of wetlands in the state of Indiana. Senate Bill 389, which was introduced, would have removed all protections for state regulated wetlands. The revised version of that legislation would limit the impacts of Senate Bill 389. Just yesterday, Governor Holcomb signed into law the revised versions of Senate Bill 389. Those revisions to 389 do allow for impacts on what we call Class 1, or the least consequential wetlands that we have, but still retain the protections of state law for Class 3 wetlands, what we consider forested wetlands that provide the most protections for our waters around the state. So the elections had an impact both on a federal level in terms of air quality and water quality, and will have had an impact in terms of legislation on a state level. I want to talk a little bit about emerging contaminants and the impacts as a priority for our agency. EPA has identified over 7,000 potential chemical and microbial drinking water contaminants, but only regulates about over 90 or 100 of them. In order to determine whether or not they regulate these contaminants, EPA conducts extensive research to determine which ones need to be regulated. Today, one of the big concerns is PFAS compounds. PFAS compounds are groups of thousands of unregulated man-made chemicals, and they're found in lots of products, from the inside lining of your microwave popcorn bag to Teflon pans, to our fast food wrappers and the raincoats we wear. They help to protect and keep water out of things. They're the most extensively produced PFOA and PFAS of these PFAS chemicals, and they're persistent in the environment and the body. They've been talked about a lot. They're called forever chemicals. And one of the questions is, what levels of these chemicals is of concern, and which levels should we be regulating? Right now, we don't have any standards for determining whether or not these chemicals should be regulated. EPA did establish health advisory levels for PFOA and PFAS of 70 parts per trillion, but they're not regulatory. They're just health advisories. And as a result, US EPA and the US Agency for Toxic Substances and Disease Registers, ATSDR, have been investigating these and setting different kinds of levels to estimate how much a person can eat and drink that contains these chemicals without risk to their health. And they're doing this in an effort to put in place standards for drinking water in other areas. EPA has identified 6 compounds under an unregulated contaminant monitoring rule and done sampling about that. We are working on plans to conduct monitoring for PFAS at community water systems around the state. And we're going to do it in 3 phases. The first phase is 123 systems that are between 3,000 and 10,000 that serve between 3 and 10,000 people. The second phase is 570 systems serving less than 3,000, the smallest systems. And then our third phase is 85 systems that serve over 10,000. We're going to be doing this sampling over the next 3 years. And our expectation is we won't find large numbers of PFAS chemicals in our drinking water systems. Other states have conducted this kind of sampling, but I think it's important to conduct this kind of work so that we have a better idea of whether or not it's a concern. In addition to our work, we're working with the Ohio River Sanitation Commission to determine what the levels of PFAS are in our Ohio River. So sampling is going to occur in the Ohio River to determine what the levels are like in that area. And we're working with USCPA and Orsenco to conduct that sampling over the next year, over the entirety of the 951-mile Ohio River. So that'll give us some great information about PFAS in that area. So when I go back to the beginning and the paintings that we saw, what I'm trying to communicate is that the priorities that we select in our agency are not just selected in a vacuum. They're selected in reaction to the different events that have happened in our community and in our country. And as you think about that, it makes a greater deal of sense that we work on the things that we're working on, from air quality issues to environmental water quality issues. They're all formed by the events that have occurred over the last year. And once we understand those events and how they impact us, they help us all understand how we need to proceed in terms of that. Just like when you go to an art museum and you see the paintings on the wall, you get a much better understanding of what that artwork means when you understand the context in which it was created. So those are our priorities: air quality and the greenhouse gases issues and global climate change is one. Water issues like PFAS, like waters of the United States, and like our wetlands programs. Emerging out of the George Floyd issues, the issues of equity and inclusion. And making sure that the agency continues to function efficiently, issue its permits on time. All of those are the priorities we are working on in this next year. And I just want to say thank you for your time this morning. And I appreciate the opportunity to talk with you. And I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Well, thank you, Bruno. We thank you so much for your time, for taking that time out of your day to come and speak to us. We know that there's a lot of important issues happening, both here in Northwest Indiana and downstate, and we're so happy that you could take the time to share all that with us. Now, I would like to move on and like to introduce Mr. Michael Kuss, the General Manager of the Michigan City Sanitary District, for the presentation of the 2021 Partners for Clean Air Awards. Michael, take it away.
Thank you, Chuck. Appreciate that. Good afternoon. I'm Michael Kuss. I'm the General Manager at the Michigan City Sanitary District. It's my pleasure again this year to present the 2021 Partners for Clean Air Award winners. This year we're presenting awards in 4 categories. The categories are business, industrial, municipal, and bicycle. Award nominations were based on voluntary air improvement projects undertaken to help the air quality in Northwest Indiana. The recipients were nominated by their peers, and all the members of the Northwest Indiana Partners for Clean Air voted to select the 2021 award winners. Our first award is for the Business Award. This year's winner assisted in making 24 new Level 2 public electric vehicle charging stations available in 18 communities across northern Indiana. They also made additional investments in solar projects and accelerated their plans to retire coal-fired power plants. I'm pleased to present the 2021 Partners for Clean Air Business Award to NIPSCO. Here to accept the award and provide remarks about the great projects that NIPSCO's manager of new business, Kevin Kirkham. Kevin?
Thank you, Michael. I'd also like to thank Partners of Clean Air for this recognition. It's nice to be recognized for the work that the company's been doing and continues to do for our customers and for the environment. I'd also like to take a minute to congratulate all the other category winners for their amazing work that they're doing for the region as well. Next, I'd like to spend just a couple minutes on NIPSCO's projects and a little bit of background on what we're doing within NIPSCO. So NIPSCO, I think most people are understanding what NIPSCO is, but we're an electric and gas utility for northern Indiana. We serve about 460,000 electric customers, and we have 820,000 gas customers. We are located in Maryville, Indiana as our headquarters, and we have 2,900 amazing employees that work day in, day out, making sure that your power is on when you need it and the gas is flowing. I know there's a lot going on in this slide, but I'll try to walk through at a high level. What I want to spend a moment talking about is the work that's happening in the electric vehicle front. And what this slide is trying to represent is kind of where the state of the industry is and where it's heading. In 2019, there were 2% of all cars sold in the United States were electric vehicles or some type of hybrid. A lot of that really was done in California, though. Indiana did not have that much sales penetration at that point in time, but that's changing. We anticipate that we're at an inflection point and we're starting to grow EV adoption over time. A lot of the barriers are starting to be broken down. Many of the barriers came from the availability of cars and the cost of the upfront cost of the cars, as well as the range of the batteries. And so OEMs are producing cars at a much lower cost to buyers today, and the availability of cars is much greater. Over the next 5 years, we anticipate so many more models that almost every model and make of car will have some type of EV option for it. And so what you couldn't buy yesterday, you might be able to buy tomorrow. And so this will have a big impact on the adoption for the purchases for electric vehicles. But one thing remains, and that's charging stations. Most charging will be done at the home or business. But to help purchase and get rid of range anxiety, people need to be confident that they can charge in public or if for fast charging when they're going on long road trips. And that's what's missing today. And so that's one of the projects that NIPSCO is helping to work on. The project that was mentioned is working in partnership with South Shore Clean Cities, and it's called Project Plug-in, where NIPSCO is providing an extra $500 matching fund for eligible participants that's putting in for the VW funding from IDEM for electric charging stations. So what this project was allowed to do was to enable 24 level 2 stations to be located in 18 communities throughout our territory. And you'll see the 18 communities that are listed on the page. And so over the next year that you'll start seeing charging stations go in to allow the public to charge at these different locations. And this really is going to help air quality immensely over time. This graph here shows that for Indiana, and this is Indiana specific, that an EV is about 60%, emits about 60% of the CO2 compared to the gasoline counterparts. And in NIPSCO, we've been striving to make this a much bigger difference because we've announced that we have our Your Energy, Your Future campaign, which is changing the platform for our generation that's providing the electricity to our consumers. We've announced that we're closing all of the generating stations that's based on coal between now and 2024. Or 2028. We used to have 4 generating stations that were coal-based, and we've now closed 2 of those plants, with 2 remaining. One plant that's located in Wheatfield, which is our largest coal-fired plant, has 4 generating units, and 2 of those units will be closed by the end of this year, with 2 more remaining to be closed by 2023, which only leaves 1 coal plant left in our territory. That's the Michigan City coal plant that will be closed by 2028. So what this will do is increase the renewable portfolio that NIPSCO has for generation, which thereby will increase the benefit as people transform their transportation needs to electric vehicles. And so this will have a tremendous impact, we believe, on the quality of air and for all the constituents in our territory. So thank you very much for this recognition, and we really appreciate being recognized. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Kevin. Next, the Industrial Award. This year's award winner added all electric security vehicle to its operations in 2020 and an electric vehicle charging station. They also constructed a trucker's lounge that provides truck drivers the opportunity to shut off their trucks and use the lounge, thereby reducing emissions from idling. Most impressively, they also added the first all-electric rail car mover in the state of Indiana. It is my pleasure to present the 2021 Partners for Clean Air Industrial Award to the Port of Indiana, Burns Harbor. Here to accept the award and provide remarks about the port's continued environmental commitment is the new port director, Ryan McCoy, and operations manager, Nick Harper. It looks like Nick may not be joining us. It's just going to be you, Ryan.
Nick's going to step in here in just a minute. Thank you, Michael.
Great. Well, congratulations, and we're looking forward to your comments.
Thank you, Michael. I appreciate that. Good morning, all. Nick Harper and I would like to thank everyone who was involved for this award and South Shore Clean Cities for the nomination. I'd also like to thank Catherine for all of her work behind the scenes this week and trying to get me up to speed very quickly here in the last 3 days and telling me about everything that's been going on. While this is only my first week with the Ports of Indiana Burns Harbor, as a new director, I'm excited to come aboard and continue the work that Ian and the team had already been doing to improve the impact on the environment. With the Ports of Indiana, intend to continue our work to improve the stewardship to the community and the environment. I come into this role with over 20 years experience, involvement with many philanthropic projects, and commitment to this community. In conjunction with the South Shore Clean Cities, 6 new pieces of equipment have been commissioned at the Burns Harbor facility by port tenants through the Volkswagen Environmental Mitigation Trust Fund Grant Program. These pieces of equipment make improvements to reducing overall air emissions. Other projects that we are proud to be committed to, Michael addressed very early in the conversation here as part of the award, and that is the addition of the charging station, the new electric port vehicle, and the truck marshaling yard. I'm going to turn things over and let Nick step in here to give a few words about Green Marine and the things that he's been doing locally. Nick?
Hello, everybody. As Ryan stated, I'd like to thank everybody involved, and especially South Shore Clean Cities, for our nomination for the award. In my time here, I've been here for 3 years. We are a member of a voluntary initiative that is a focus throughout the Great Lakes and globally. It's called Green Marine. In my time here, we have improved our overall score significantly. It's a bit of a history behind it. There's a category of 7 or 8 categories, all related to environmental matters. We've improved annually in each category. Another project that I have been a part of is a fugitive dust mitigation program, as well as a stormwater runoff reducement program. We received a grant through the U.S. Forestry Service and the Wildlife Habitat Council. With this, we planted over 200 native species of trees throughout the port and on port tenants' properties. And again, I'd just like to thank everybody involved in South Shore Clean Cities again for the nomination.
Thanks again, Michael.
Well, thank you, Ryan and Nick. It's very exciting. I didn't know about this Green Marine program that you were participating in. It's something that I know I would really like to learn more about. So maybe there would be some way that we could learn more about that and hear more about what you're doing, the specifics of what you're doing about that with that initiative, maybe at a future date. Would that be acceptable to you?
Yeah, definitely reach out. We'd love to connect and educate even more people about it.
Excellent. Yeah, it'd be nice to know. Thank you very much. Okay, thank you again, Ryan and Nick. Up next is the municipal award. This year's winners celebrated the addition of 11 new hybrid squad cars to their fleet in July of 2020. These new cars are expected to reduce fuel costs by 38% and save 44,622 gallons of gasoline every year. This is the equivalent of removing approximately 85 passenger cars from the road each year. I am pleased to present the 2021 Partners for Clean Air Municipal Award to the Porter County Sheriff's Department. Here to accept the award and provide remarks are Porter County Sheriff David Reynolds and Major Gary Gear. Sheriff Reynolds and Major Gear, we're interested to hear about your programs.
Well, thank you very much. On behalf of the Sheriff's Department, we're very honored to receive this award, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to partner with the PCA and do our part to improve air quality, but not only to improve air quality, but public health in Porter County. So far, the Porter County Sheriff's Office has seen over 2,000, as you referred to, over $2,000 per vehicle in gas consumption savings. And our action plan of having the entire fleet completely hybrid is on schedule. I want to thank the Safe Shore Clean Cities and Lori Cagle for nominating us. Charles Breitenfeld for the nice correspondence that we received. The Partners for Clean Air coordinator, and Carl Lisek, the executive director. Don Hadley, who actually probably got the ball rolling. He's the one who initially contacted us, asked us if we were interested. Since this, we've got almost, I think we have 19 hybrid cars now on the road. We have since bought we've also received 2 electric bicycles and an electric ATV that we're using. And we are in the process of working with the commissioners of and this is something probably in the future, but just so you are aware of this, we are going to request, and we're promoting the redoing of our entire jail plumbing. And we're going with a company that will regulate the use of water, which they have assured us will save up to 30% in water savings. So I think that's something that down the road we'll probably keep you informed of. So I don't know if you want to say anything, but we're really excited. I want to thank Gary Gear, my major, who's been the go-between with you, and it's just been a really rewarding partnership that we have had, and we're really grateful for this opportunity. You got anything?
No, other than the cars have been super reliable. We're not lacking power from the vehicles. We do get 25% better gas mileage on average, but the car's been great. The guys are super receptive. Nothing really negative with them. So we really appreciate everything South Shore Clean Cities have done for us.
Well, thank you very much, Sheriff Reynolds and Major Gear. We appreciate what you're doing here to help protect the air in Porter County in Northwest Indiana. It's very exciting. I think you'll be setting a precedent for certainly other sheriff's departments across the state of Indiana, let alone Northwest Indiana. Now, you could also correct me if I'm wrong here, but I just wanted to let everyone know that with the presenting of this award to the Porter County Sheriff's Office, that doesn't mean that we can go speeding through Porter County, I'm assuming, right? So, you know, the fact there is, I'm assuming this isn't any kind of carte blanche for that. So, in fact, everyone should slow down and save gas and reduce pollution. So, thank you very much. I'm really honored to present this award to you. And like I said, I really think you'll be setting a precedent for other sheriff's offices throughout the state. So, good job.
All right, thank you.
You're very welcome. Our last award today is the Bicycle Award. As many of you know, we have named the Bicycle Award for one of our previous Bicycle Award winners, Mr. Mark Zeminski, for the great work that he does in rehabilitating old bicycles and providing them free of charge to children, to needy children, and also for his inspirational messaging. I will also never forget Mark. We asked him to throw out the first pitch at the Railcats game, another event that the Partners for Clean Air sponsors each year. And he showed up with his glove and a little baseball jersey on. And let me tell you, he was ready to go. He wound up and threw that pitch right over the plate. So this is the Mark Zeminski Bike Award. This year's winner has been the face of bike trails in Northwest Indiana for nearly 20 years. He joined NWI in 2003 and has served as an active transportation planner ever since. He is the lead planner for Region Trails, which now totals more than 190 miles. He has also worked on the 2020 Greenways and Blueways plan and has received the Best Practice Award from the American Planning Association, the Indiana chapter. And there's even more. This year's winner also applied for and received nearly $6 million in Next Level Trails grant funding. This money was used for trails in Crown Point, Portage, and Valparaiso, Indiana. It gives me great pleasure to announce the 2021 Partners for Clean Air Mark Zeminski Bicycle Award to Mr. Mitch Barloga. Mr. Barloga is here to accept the award and provide a few remarks. Mitch?
Thank you so much, Michael, and good morning to everybody here on the call. I'm very thankful, obviously, for this honor. Deeply proud of the great progress in expanding our Greenways and Blueways network and making this waterleaf logo here a recognizable brand in our region as well. Now, before I speak, I want to genuinely thank the Partners for Clean Air, South Shore Cities, my dear friend and fellow Sox buddy, Lori Cagle, for awarding me this honor. I am genuinely humbled by this recognition and also to be recognized with all the awardees on today's program. Mark Zeminski is an outstanding advocate, helping to better our quality of life here in Northwest Indiana, and I am so proud to be associated with this award in his name. I do thank the Lord Jesus for blessing me with this position at NWI, providing healthy outlets for our region residents and giving back to an area where generations of my own family have enjoyed. So getting into the progress we have made, and I'll try to be as swift as possible if the bandwidth will let me, but this is really how it all started, and this has made my job a lot easier with all of the old abandoned railroads that have been in this region for many years. In fact, in the 1800s, we had 1,000 miles of railroad crisscrossing this region, all accessing Chicago. Over the years, those railroads have shuttered. We have now approximately 300 abandoned rail miles in Northwest Indiana, and we have converted almost half of those, over 150. In fact, we have about 190 miles of off-road trail in Northwest Indiana today. A great success, a great quality of life amenity. I also want to just tip my hat to NIPSCO. I know they're on the line. They have been an amazing partner for trail development. We have over 25 miles of trail allowed on NIPSCO property, and so great thanks to them for being partners in this success. Trails have flourished throughout our region, and we've also been very, getting the word out. We put out maps. This map has been very popular. It's free, that helps, but we have been able to put this map out regularly. The 2020 Greenways and Blueways map is out there, helping identify all the routes in the region for people to enjoy, both on land and water routes as well. And these trails are well loved by so many in this region. It's great to see it. It's a phenomenal job that I have. When I tell them what I do, first of all, they drop their jaw. They're like, really, that's a job? I'm like, yes, it is. And then they go on and tell about their favorite trail and where they go. And it's just an amazing conversation I can have as they describe these great systems. We have done some wonderful work in helping to separate the trails from the roadway network. This one here in the city of Gary at Broadway, the Oak Savannah. Get to Hammond in a moment here because there's a lot to talk about in the city of Hammond. They did a great project here recently crossing Calumet Avenue at Wolf Lake and building all sorts of bridges throughout their community. Trailhead amenities such as this wonderful amenity here at the end of the Erie-Lackawanna Trail at Crown Point that was recently built. Well, recently, about a decade ago, and just recently, certainly, just last year, we were able to install signage up and down the Erie-Lackawanna Prairie Duneland trails, finally giving people a way of identifying what community they're in, what street they're crossing, and there I am actually posing with one of the entrance signs, and that has been a great boon to our identity. Being in this position, I've been at NWI for over 18 years, and I don't get tired of ribbon cuttings. I have lots of ribbon cuttings and I have lots of fun at ribbon cuttings. And it's great to just work with the communities on these different events time and time again. It doesn't get old. It has rolled up over the years where, of course, when I started in the 80s, there was a few trail projects that were moving along. And then as time has gone on, the momentum has gone on. It's been kind of a compounding effect over the years. Of course, using federal money that we utilize and we program at NWI takes a while to get out the door. It can take 5 to 10 years to build a trail with federal money, 10 years on the back end of it. But we're seeing a lot more investments now, next level trails being allocated by Governor Holcomb. That's fast money. I mean, we can get trails in within 2 or 3 years with next level trails, which is wonderful. And so we're just going to see more and more of these events happening. And I'm just going to have to get another pair of scissors as it goes on here because more and more communities are getting on board with it. And just so happy to be alongside them and proud to be there helping open up these systems time and time again. Yes, okay, here's a couple of slides here. We just opened up the Pensy right here in downtown Cherville just last year, a great amenity connecting two communities there. And I want to pause here. This is when I was there when the Wolf Lake Bridge opened up. And again, I plan trails, which is wonderful. But again, the other end of the story are the people that hear it, that get it, and that they implement it. Mayor McDermott is one of the most active elected officials that I know of who has taken this concept and has run wild with it, and it's been great. In fact, today, thanks to the leadership of Mayor McDermott, we can proudly call Hammond trail capital of Indiana. They have more miles of trail per population than any other community in Indiana. That's under Mayor McDermott's watch. But it's not just Mayor McDermott. There's so many great elected officials I work with, 41 cities and towns in the 3 counties here along the lakeshore in Indiana. So many of them are so receptive, and I could go on and on thanking each and every one of them. I just point out Mayor McDermott, they were awarded. Last year, they were recognized for their outstanding work. And of course, Dean Button, their city engineer, who is a bike rider himself, he has been very active helping out with the community too. So props to the elected officials in this region that get it, that want to see more of these projects flourish. Now, I know it's a bicycle award, but I do have to mention my work on the water, and I've been equally blessed to be on the water, working with an incredible group called Northwest Indiana Paddling Association. Again, my work is non-motorized. That includes land and sea options for transportation and recreation, and paddling is no different. I'll just end here on these 2 major priorities that I would like you to keep an eye on, because as we continue to grow, as we continue to connect, we're also making these larger mega regional and national connections. 2 of them, well, actually 3 of them to talk about here. First of all, being the Marquette Greenway. This is now the trail project that we are primarily focusing on here at NWI, trying to connect the 3 states from Chicago to New Buffalo. It's a 55-mile route. We have over 70% of it either completed or funded, and we're getting more funding all the time. It's been a tremendous success. Burns Harbor just opened up a wonderful segment. Michigan City did the same thing. We saw Next Level Trails Fund segments. it's almost an abundance of riches right now. People are really getting this, and the National Park are tremendous partners in this. I tip my hat to Superintendent Paul Labovitz and his staff. Been great to work with in getting this accomplished. The other priorities that we're working on here, little national routes here. The national route of the American Discovery Trail crosses into our region. This is a coast-to-coast hiking route. And then the Great American Rail Trail, which is going to be an off-road coast-to-coast trail being spearheaded by Rails to Trail Conservancy, and it mirrors the very route of the American Discovery right to this region. So we're really happy to host these two national priorities. And also, I do want to mention too, when it comes to bicycling, we're all not just on trails. Of course, you have to get to a trail on roads, and we're trying to work with other national endeavors. This is United States Bicycle Route 36 that I helped get shepherded through here. That is part of a national route of these so-called bicycle interstates to get people through our region. Thankfully, we do have a lot of connected trails making this work out, and that's been bringing a lot more interest to our region as well from a national perspective. And before I really go out here, a couple weeks ago, I was informed of this award, and I was really humbled by it. But in the interim, I learned of the passing of Jim Ranfranz. He was the executive director when I was at NWI, when I was first hired. In fact, I was his last hire. And he recruited me aggressively to be there. So I can't thank Mr. Ranfranz enough for giving me the opportunity to have this job and to share this love I have with the region and help it grow. So many props to Mr. Ranfranz. His legacy is certainly secured in what he has done, and people like myself and others that he brought on at NWI. And as for NWI, the successors to Jim, that's John Swanson, that's my current boss, Ty Warner, and Kathy Luther. They've all been wonderful in giving me the latitude to work at this level and to make this region a better place to live for all. With that said, this is the last time you'll see me with hair, and I really appreciate this award. Thank you all so very much.
Thank you very much, Mitch. Your presentations are always very energetic, and Mr. Ranfranz, certainly we need to thank him for hiring you and bringing you here to this position, because you're outstanding in this field, maybe second to none even. Really appreciate everything you do. And I know here in Michigan City, we're ready to open up another portion of the Singing Sands Trail, I believe sometime here in May. I know myself and Steve, who works with me, we've taken a few sneak trips on some of the parts of the trail that are not open yet, but somehow we managed to get out and do a little walking there. So thank you again so much for what you do, and your message is just so on point, and we're really blessed to have you in this position here in Northwest Indiana. So keep up the great work, and really it's our pleasure to present you with this award. So thank you,
Michael. Thank you.
You're very welcome. All right, Chuck, I'll send it back over to you now, okay? Thank you, everybody, for listening to the awards presentation and participating.
All right, well, thank you so much, Michael, for doing that for us. And congratulations again to all the award winners. You guys are all doing some truly great work, and it all speaks to our focus and our message that everything adds up to clean air. So you guys are all doing great work, great job. Congratulations once again. We're very proud of you, and we're very happy to be giving you guys these awards. Next up, we'll open up to questions and answers. Does anybody have any questions for anybody, any one of the award winners, or for anybody that's presented here? I know there were a couple in the questions tab, but I don't see any right now. Does anybody have any questions? You can put it in the chat or in the questions. I see somebody has their hand raised. Catherine, is there a way to unmute them? I'll give them a minute in case they want to type it in the chat. Okay, well, I'm not seeing anything right now, so if anybody does have any questions, you have my contact information. You have everybody else is given their contact information, so if you do have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. On behalf of all of the members of the Partners for Clean Air program, I would once again like to congratulate all of our award winners today, both the Partners for Clean Air award winners and the scholarship winners. I'd like to thank you guys all for personally for taking the time out of your day today to spend some time with us and learn about all the great things that are happening here in Northwest Indiana to help improve the air in our area. We hope to see you all again next year. Fingers crossed we're going to be in person for the 2022 Partners for Clean Air Luncheon and Award Ceremony. For more information and to sign up for the Partners for Clean Air, please visit our website. It's www.in.gov. It's /INM and /Partners for Clean Air. You can also follow us on Facebook and LinkedIn. We have both of those pages. You can find us by searching the phrases Partners for Clean Air Northwest Indiana. On all these pages, you'll be kept up to date on all of our outreach events, as well as many different tips and articles that affect the air quality here in Northwest Indiana. I'd also like to thank Catherine Yoder and South Shore Clean Cities for helping us run this presentation today. They're in the background making sure that everything's working. So we really appreciate them doing that. We really couldn't do that without you guys. So keep a lookout for, we have an outreach event coming up in August. We're going to be at the South Shore Railcats this year. 2 games this year. Usually we do 1. We're doing 2 this year, so we're really looking forward to that. And one more thing, keep an eye out on our social media pages and our website for our new environmental sponsorship program that's going to be rolling out later this year. We're hoping for a fall rollout on that. So stay tuned for more information on that. Thank you all and have a great day.